Welcome back. My name's Matt. I'm from Jaggers Brewing Co. Today's project is the long anticipated Fire Ant Ale. So, Fire Ant Ale. This is a fun project that I looked forward to for a very long time. If you follow me on Instagram or some of the other places that I hang out, you've seen me kind of talk about it or tease it, but you haven't seen it yet. So, welcome to the debut of Fire Ant Ale. This project started off as a challenge with another YouTuber and I. He hasn't had a chance to brew his yet, but I really wanted to get going on it. I've been pumped about it, and I had a small window to just go ahead, get it done, and share it with everybody. So, let's pour that beer and let's talk about it. So here is Fire Ant Ale on its, I guess, maiden debut. Here we go. Set that right here for right now. Hopefully I didn't squash any ants. So, just real quickly, I did something special with some malts. We made a tincture for a secondary edition for some flavor profile that I was trying to hit. And this, as soon as we started talking about it, I almost knew exactly what I wanted to do. This beer is, right now, it's pretty fresh, it's pretty young. I kegged it. It's probably been in the keg for right at a week now. And I've taste tested it a little bit here and there. Again, here it is. We'll talk about the colors and all that stuff here in just a moment. But let's talk about what this beer tastes like, what it looks like, what it smells like, and all that other stuff real quick. So right off the top, getting some maltiness. The head's dissipated quite a bit. Got a small little ring now. I think that's due to the tincture of this beer. So I got some maltiness, I got some sweetness here. I think that's gonna be a combination of everything. Not one thing particularly stands out to me. Now I did use the Hefeweizen strain on this here, and maybe that's a contributor to kind of some of the sweet banana esters that I'm pulling from it right now. So the whole idea and premise behind this particular project was to bring the essence of Fire Ant in a run what you brewed, run what you brung kind of challenge. Take your skill sets and just kind of play with some creativity and see what kind of beer that you can brew with it. That's pretty good beer. So in this particular beer, as soon as I started thinking about the project, I knew that I wanted to head down the path of like Hefeweizen or a wheat beer. I wanted to focus more on kind of like the American style of wheat beer, American style of Hefeweizen. And so I kind of played around with a couple things. And one of the biggest contributors to this grain bill, I feel like, once I honed in on that particular style or styles, was I had a smash beer from Venture Homebrewing, and Ramon brought over this RedX smash. And this thing was freaking sweet. It was a beautiful red. It had a very nice sweet malty profile to it, and I just couldn't get that out of my mind once I had recently said, let's do this project. And after doing that project, or that thought process, I started to kind of gather some other ideas of what I wanted to do. I knew pretty early on that I wanted to somehow incorporate some sort of heat or spiciness to the beer. And it's really interesting how this thing does. So, I tried to take into account everything in the green bill and everything in the processes and all that, like how everything was just going to interact with each other to the best of my ability. So I had never added peppers to a beer before. I did a bunch of reading around, and it looked like a tincture was the best bet there. So what we did was I only took one habanero pepper and I put it in a mason jar, and then I just poured some vodka over the top of it just to cover it. And every time I put it in a high traffic place, and every time that I walked by it, I made sure to shake it up, swirl it up, and all that over the course of 2 weeks. After the 2-week period was over, I went ahead and drained the fluid off the pepper and just stored the tincture away for basically packaging use for the pepper or for the beer. The hops that I chose for this was one that I had never used before, I never experienced, and so it was the Columbus Tomahawk at 22.6 IBUs for 60 minutes. And picking up on, looking at the notes that people contributed with it, I felt like it was going to be a good mixture between the yeast and the malt profile that I was looking for and everything. And so so we added the hops at 60 minutes for 22.6 IBUs. I used a Whirlfloc Tablet, Yeast Nutrient, we chilled, and then we fermented at room temperature. And the reason why I chose to definitely ferment at room temperature was I was hoping with that Hefeweizen type yeast that we would try to push some of the fruity characteristics off of fermentation into this beer to kind of hopefully help counteract some of the spiciness. I didn't know what to expect with the tincture and how the peppers were going to work in this threshold. This thing came in at about 6 ABV, and so I don't think that you can really taste the alcohol per se. But I have noticed while tasting this throughout the whole week and just sharing it with a few friends, is the more that you drink, the more the spice and the heat add up in this beer. And it's nuts to me that only one habanero did it to this whole 5-gallon batch. And so that I feel like got a lot of stretch out of that pepper for this batch. It just starts off kind of a little on the malty side, and it just starts bringing the heat on. I'm really happy with the way that this thing turned out. The color here, I was hoping to try to shoot for something that was a little bit more red. I'm pretty happy with the color. Initially, I had planned on trying to maybe use some food coloring if it wasn't quite right for it, but I think it's well enough to leave alone. As far as the actual taste and everything with the beer, I do think that I personally would like it just a tad bit hotter. And so as far as doing that, I think that maybe 1.5 habanero, 1.25 maybe would be just about right. Or instead of using a whole nother habanero, maybe a little bit of jalapeno or something like that. Now when I've discussed with some friends and everybody about it, I said, you know, I almost wish maybe that I would have roasted some peppers and thrown that in a tincture, or you know, maybe had some kind of different combination with peppers or whatever. It's, to me, this being like a first try or whatever, I wouldn't say that I necessarily captured the full essence of Fire Ant, but it is along the track. I do believe. I think we got a good color to it. I think we got a good heat and spice to it. It's not making me want to swap my legs or anything, like when I normally just stand still in the backyard for any amount of time. I'm apparently standing in a Fire Ant mound. But I think that we're along the good track. So the head deterioration and retention, I think, is poor with this particular brew, and I think that is due to the tincture going in there. I think maybe some of that vodka and maybe some of the oils from the habanero or whatever maybe destroyed that. I'm not entirely sure about it, but that's just my suspicion. The recipe will be in the description below if you want to take a look at it and let me know what you think about it. If you've added peppers to beers before, I'm curious on how you did it. So please be sure to let me know and tell me if I did it the right way or the wrong way. So this beer, I'm happy with it. I really like it. This is one of those ones I'm not going to go pint after pint for. It does seem to have a certain heat threshold. Once it reaches it, it doesn't ever seem to cross it to me. But like I said, I'm not going to go really past 2 pints at least on this. I've done it the other day and I didn't really gain more heat or anything like that, but to me it was just time to switch to a different beer. It's a good like 1 pint drink, or you know, pour a growler and share with a bunch of friends. Everybody get a pint of. But other than that, I mean, look at this thing. I mean, I'm sorry to be so boastful about it, but I'm really happy with it. Like, yeah, it's great. So with all that said, cheers guys. Thanks for coming along. If you haven't done it, subscribe, like, share, all that. Cheers, y'all. Welcome back. This is Matt from Jaggers Brewing Co. Today's project, Fire Ant Ale. And I've been invaded by all these ants. So this project started off as a, welcome back. This is Matt from Jaggers Brewing Co. Today's project, Fire Ant Ale. This project started off as a what am I trying to say? Gotta wait for that fan to quit running.